Very often, we've been questioning ourselves. I think the very small media fraternity have been discussing this, and we realize that, one of the roles of media is to provide public service, is to provide the kind of information that people need to make informed decisions, right? So, okay, media development. We're very young. As all people are in the Himalayas. Everything started late. In fact, the radio station began as a voluntary radio station in the 1970s and became a professional station only in 1984. Our first newspaper was started in 86, and until June 1999, we did not have TV or the internet. Now, in the past, I think many visiting journalists and Western visitors often interpreted the absence of television as a deprivation of media. Someone sitting in Washington or in New York, for example, hearing about this country with a king, no TV, my goodness, no Asia, no Newsweek in those days, no Time magazine. So many people thought it was a place without freedom. There's no freedom of press. They concluded that it must be a tough place to be in. But it's surprising. The minute we introduced television in 1999, many people turned around and said, why did you do that? Now your country will be ruined, Why did you open up? Anyway, the reason why media, we never had much global media in the past was because Bhutan was and still is a country with limited resources. We're a least developing country, and the priorities were schools, hospitals, water supply, power, electricity, etc. Today, of course, in 1999, we moved from a situation without TV to one national channel. And before the end of the year, within 6 months, we had 45 channels. We also introduced the internet. And also at the time, we had obviously a lot of media from India. That's our closest neighbor. All the newspapers available and all the magazines were there. Today, we have 4 newspapers. In fact, 3 of them were started just in the last 2 years, so we're very, very young. 4 radio stations, and even more than 190 dish TV channels. And the government has just recently announced that they're legalizing this. This was illegal. There were dish TVs all over in the remote areas. And the irony is that none of them carry the local TV channel that people want. So, the result of which is most Bhutanese today actually know more about the world than we know about ourselves. And the same concerns, I heard the same concerns yesterday when someone talked about the need for local content. It's very expensive for media in Bhutan to have correspondents in the 20 districts. So very often, what do? We have very urban-centric news, urban-centric programming. So that's a big challenge. All right, I've recently completed a study on impact of media on society, and it was interesting compared to the first study that was done that I did in 2003. Now, in 2003, most people in Bhutan looked to the media for information and news. 5 years later, just last year, everyone wanted media for entertainment. And it's amazing the amount of global templates that we're adopting. Last year, we had the Bhutan Idol, which was so popular, the number of votes. But it was culturally a bit of a conflict. People couldn't understand it, how they could use the phone to vote more than one time. Didn't we just learn that we should vote for one person once? But now we can use the phone and vote as many times as you can afford to. We've got a lot of interesting issues coming up, where media is concerned. But we're not ruined yet, except that we're feeling a bit of the pressure of global media coming in. A lot of visible impacts, especially with television. This is a gentleman in a very remote part of Bhutan in his little shop, and they spend all day watching television. The major risk is that we are moving from an oral society, right? We're jumping, the reading stage, right, the inquiring stage, and we're jumping straight to a visual society. That's something we're concerned about. We've not had the time to develop this habit and the skills of reading, of writing, of telling current day stories. Like the West many, many years ago, I think media is today replacing the traditional agents of socialization and change, that is taking the place of the family, right? All the young people are learning values from television. May not be a bad idea, except the fact that, most of the content on TV are not Bhutanese. We have very little programming for young people, for children, and even less news, right? So we're in a bit of a very interesting situation that really needs some attention. So are we consumers or consumed? I guess grappling with globalization, Bhutan is a very small country. We've not really had the time to prepare for what is turning out to be a media invasion. We've not had time to develop our own media and to give people the filters to understand the kind of media we're getting. We are a small country among giants. Bhutan really does not have any economic or military might. So therefore, the government has always realized the importance of culture. And right now, media is gnawing at the roots of this culture. We're changing very quickly, our young people especially. And this is, again, a remote home right at the end of one valley that I happen to go to, and there's a dish TV there. And I asked this young man, what do you have? He said, oh, we have 191 channels. And most of them in languages that he doesn't even understand, but they watch it because of a lack of anything else to do. So, media and a democracy. Today, we are in a situation where Bhutan is in a state of change. We have brand new politicians who are, sitting in parliament, making key decisions, who are there for less than a year old. Many of them are new graduates. Some of them are in their 20s. They've been elected into parliament. We have media professionals who are all very young. The average age of most journalists is like 20-something. Our youth, our civil society, we're all trying to understand our role in this society of change, and also to understand the role of media. And the interesting point here is that in the study that I did recently, we discovered that many people actually believed everything that the media says. The Bhutanese media, because there is a high level of respect for the written word, because until now, the only thing that was available was scriptures and sacred texts. So people have a lot of regard for it. So anything that's published and written, they think it must be true, And now with competition, though, people are getting a little confused because everyone's got a different angle, and our media is trying very hard. They've been very good as watchdogs. I think they took the role really seriously. But because of the competition, they've also tended to veer towards sensationalism, and everything has suddenly become very negative. It's all bad news. They're not accountable what's happening. And okay, Q&A. Last bit. There's nothing in our schools for young people that's related to media or to teach them skills. So therefore, the plan is, inspired by what is taking place in Stony Brook, at the Center for Media and Democracy, we want to start piloting in media clubs in Bhutan. We're actually starting this spring, targeting high school and undergraduate students. We are working on developing a curricula, so I need to thank all of you for sharing your curriculum with me, and a media resource book for young people. We hope to be training teachers in winter, and to in the next year or two, to build on the experience to sort of scale up and draw up a national plan for introducing media literacy in schools. Thank you.